Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are all doing great today. And today I just wanted to do a quick video on how you can be successful with annual Vincas. Now, another name for this is also Madagascar periwinkle. If you've ever heard that name before, that's probably referring to this plant. So annual Vinca or Madagascar periwinkle is a super easy to grow, very low maintenance, and very heat tolerant annual that is just a stellar performer, and I think everybody should grow it. So first and foremost, let's just get right into it. So first and foremost, these plants love the sun. Make sure that you put these guys in an area where they are going to get full sun for most of the day. At least 6 hours or more of sun each day is preferred. If you have 4 to 6 hours, they might do okay, but they definitely do better with lots and lots of sunlight. So 6 or more hours a day is preferred. Now, as for soil, they're really not super picky about soil, at least when it comes to fertility. I mean, they like some nutrition like all plants, but one thing they will not tolerate with soil, and I say this all the time, is wet feet or really wet soil where water holds on to their roots. They will not like that, and they will probably rot and die. They really do not like their soil to be wet. So make sure wherever you're planting that water does not pool or puddle, at least not for very long. Make sure that the soil drains quickly. These plants are actually fairly drought tolerant. So generally speaking, if a plant is drought tolerant, they typically don't like that excess water near their root balls. So, and that's why I think they are a fabulous option for containers. Like this one is in this hanging basket, and the soil in hanging baskets and you use in containers is generally pretty light, so it lets the water drain faster, and so they're not sitting in water. Now, if they're in the landscape, make sure you are amending it to make sure that, especially if you have clay soil where we do, and it sucks, I hate it, but make sure you are amending the soil so that the soil is draining really, really well. So yeah, that is soil. As for watering, like I mentioned, they are drought tolerant, and this is especially true in the landscape because, I mean, when they're in containers, they do dry out a little bit more quickly, but when they're in the ground, so I do have to water this more often than I would if I had them in the landscape. But in the landscape, after they are established, so they do need like a few weeks after you plant them, a few weeks, especially if it's dry, make sure that you are watering them regularly to make sure that they get their roots down. But once they are established and they really get going, if you get regular rainfall, they could probably live with whatever rain Mother Nature provides. Now, obviously, if you're going through a dry period, I'd say give it a good drink at least once every week or so in the ground. So, another thing that could help is mulch. So you can mulch them and they will be great. So that's watering. Now, as for fertilizer, this is another great thing about them. They really don't need like a lot of fertilizer. They actually can do well with somewhat infrequent feedings, I want to say. At least, again, especially in the ground. So in the ground, you could probably give them like 1 dose maybe of like a slow release fertilizer or something, and that'll probably take them through the rest of your season. Now, of course, that depends on how long your season is, but generally speaking, 1 application of slow release fertilizer in the landscape will be just fine for them. Now, in containers, obviously, because I'm watering more often, the fertilizer can leach out the bottom. So I do need to be fertilizing this more often. And in containers, I prefer to use like a fast release, like a Miracle-Gro, and it works just fine. And I would say you could do that probably every 2 or 3 weeks or so, and they will probably be just fine. Now, as for temperature, this is crucial for these plants. These plants are not frost tolerant or really even cold tolerant, really. These are plants that absolutely love the heat. I think I already mentioned that probably a few times already, but that also plays into when you plant them or when you bring them out. They really need a lot of heat. They will not tolerate cold soil or cold air temperatures. They will kind of languish until it gets really hot. So I mean, it's really warm, so as you can see, these have really just filled out and bloomed beautifully because they love that heat. Make sure that it is, I would say, preferably at least over 50 degrees at night, preferably over 60 at night. They really need it warm. And if you plant them too early, they will just languish and they really won't do anything, at least until it gets really hot. So I would say, for me, I wouldn't put them out until probably the middle of June. I mean, of course, it depends on the year, but generally, I wouldn't plant them until at least June where I live. And they will grow very quickly if you plant them out when it's warm. So that is very, very critical for them. They love the heat, and they can, and that is why these are also fabulous plants for hot climates. So if you live in really hot climates where you kind of struggle to grow things, these are great. So yeah, and another little fun thing about them, at least if you deal with them, is they're very deer resistant because they actually ooze a sap when their leaves and stems are broken. So, and deer don't like that. So if you deal with deer, it's very deer resistant annual as well. And actually, one final note I would like to mention about these things is when you plant them in the landscape, be prepared to see some volunteers the next year. Where I live in Ohio, it gets cold in the winter and the plant dies, but I don't really see them anymore. I think I finally got rid of all of them, but they do have a tendency to seed in your garden beds. So you may see seedlings popping up in your garden beds if you had them the next season. So just a little FYI, if you don't really like the idea of plants spreading around, that's just something to keep in mind. It's not too bad. They're pretty easy to pull up, but you get what I mean. So that's kind of it, what I wanted to talk about, this beautiful annual Vinca. I think they are fabulous plants, and I think everybody should try them. So if you guys enjoyed this video and found it informative, please give me a like, comment, and subscribe. I would very much appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in another video here very soon. Thanks for watching.